How about Pacritinib?
So Pacritinib is a JAK2, FLT3, and IRAK1 inhibitor that has been studied in several clinical trials, and it's been shown to have sort of less of an effect on the cytopenias. And so this was further explored in PERSIST-1 when patients were randomized 2-to-1 to either Pacritinib, 400 milligrams daily, or best available therapy, but those excluded patients who were receiving ruxolitinib. And the primary endpoint, and this was irrespective of their baseline cytopenias, and the primary endpoint was spleen volume reduction at 6 months, essentially. And then PERSIST-2 went on also in a randomized fashion, comparing people who to either Pacritinib, and here they utilized various doses. They utilized 400 or 200 BID, and then obviously best available therapy, which included ruxolitinib in this situation. But so both trials were more or less the same. We're talking about spleen volume reduction in maybe 19-20% in the investigational study versus 67 in the best available therapy. But because of concerns about cardiac event, bleeding events, the trials were put on hold, I believe in 2016. But then ultimately the FDA lift was, hold was lifted, and then we just completed accrual to a dose finding study with Pacritinib, looking at 100 milligrams daily, 200 BID, and also 100 BID. And those did not allow crossover between the three arms. So patients, again, spleen volume reduction by 3 months, and those who respond could continue up until about 2.5 years. And all those people had platelet count enrolled below 100,000. So I do think that perhaps there may be a role for this agent for patients who have platelet count below 50,000. It's a huge area of need, but I guess more data to come from this dose finding study.
And then finally, Momelotinib.
So Momelotinib is also a JAK inhibitor, at least that's how I think it's pronounced. And the Simplify trials were phase 3 newly diagnosed or patients coming to treatment between double-blind between ruxolitinib and Momelotinib. The difference about Momelotinib is it was supposed to help the hemoglobin, improve the anemia, and that obviously would be a major advantage. The trial failed on the primary endpoint, which was a combined endpoint on the spleen size and symptoms, and therefore it was stopped at that point. But actually, there was very clear evidence on the secondary endpoint that many patients got improvements in their hemoglobin. So I think it's a very interesting agent from that point of view. I was way down the line but had patients in that trial, and it certainly seemed to be effective in patients who were needing transfusion, no longer requiring transfusion. As I understand, the drug has been bought by a different company, and that there's now a further trial planned where hopefully they'll look at the specific issues